Welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we're diving into the incredible engineering and the massive systemic shifts behind India's bold transition to green rail mobility. We're talking about a huge leap forward in clean transportation that, honestly, feels a bit like science fiction. But, as you'll see, it's hitting the tracks right now.
Picture this, a massive 10-car locomotive thundering down the tracks. But instead of billowing black smoke, the absolute only things it leaves behind are a harmless trail of water vapor and a little bit of heat. Sounds kind of like magic, right? Well, that's exactly what this new technology achieves.
To understand how this zero-emission machine actually works, we're going to look at a few things today. First, a green rail milestone. Second, the power of hydrogen. Third, we'll look under the train's hood. Fourth, building the infrastructure. And finally, safety first.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, a green rail milestone.
So, meet India's first indigenous hydrogen train. This pilot project was developed entirely domestically, which is a massive reflection of the national vision for Atmanirbhar Bharat, or a self-reliant India. And the big takeaway here? Embracing this next-generation tech immediately catapults the nation into an incredibly exclusive group of early adopters, right up there with Germany, Japan, China, and the US.
And just to be clear, this isn't some tiny, scaled-down prototype. We're talking about a massive 10-car hydrogen fuel cell train set designed to move around 2,600 passengers at a time. It's approved to operate at 75 kilometers per hour, with a design speed pushing 110. And it's going to connect Jind Junction, Gohana, and Sonipat, serving multiple halts along the way.
Moving on to Section 2, the power of hydrogen.
You know, if you want to move thousands of people at high speeds without relying on diesel, you need some serious raw power. And hydrogen, it's an incredibly high-energy fuel. It packs a massive 120 megajoules per kilogram. Now, put that next to traditional diesel fuel, which sits way down at 43. That means hydrogen is almost 3 times as energy dense. Plus, it's low maintenance and leaves a remarkably low carbon footprint. It is, without a doubt, the absolute cleanest propulsion technology we currently have for rail.
So this brings up a crucial question. How do we actually unlock that 120 megajoules of energy without, just setting it on fire like traditional fuel? Well, the beating heart of this whole system relies on something called the Proton Exchange Membrane Fuel Cell, or PMFC for short. This right here is our primary energy source.
Take a close look at this chemical reaction. The fuel cell generates electricity by reacting hydrogen and oxygen across a highly specialized polymer membrane. Think of this membrane like a bouncer at a club. It lets the protons pass right through, but completely blocks the electrons. Because those electrons are blocked, they're forced to take a detour through an external circuit, and boom, that creates our electric current. This beautiful, elegant reaction generates a massive 1,200 kilowatts of propulsion power, leaving behind nothing but unused air, water, and just a little bit of heat.
Which brings us to Section 3, under the train's hood.
So how exactly do you safely pack a rolling chemical powerhouse alongside thousands of daily commuters? The layout is actually ingeniously broken down into 2 parts. At the absolute ends of the train, you have the driving power cars, or DPCs. These safely house the fuel cells, the heavy-duty batteries, and the hydrogen cylinders. Then, tucked safely between them are 8 trailer coaches dedicated entirely to the passengers. It's brilliant because it keeps the high-powered energy generation completely isolated from the passenger cabins.
Now let's talk about Section 4, building the infrastructure.
Because, look, you can't just drop a hydrogen train onto existing tracks and call it a day. Indian Railways had to build a dedicated ecosystem entirely from scratch. What you're seeing here is the facility at Jind, in Haryana, which is now the country's largest railway hydrogen storage and refueling hub. To make sure operations are totally reliable, they've packed it with specialized compression systems for refueling, high-tech dispensers, and even a standby compressor, so the service literally never skips a beat.
Just to help you grasp the sheer logistical scale here, this single facility stores a massive 3,000 kilograms of highly pressurized hydrogen at any given time. That is a huge undertaking, and it's designed for one thing only: keeping these green trains moving seamlessly.
And this infrastructure? It isn't just large, it is absolutely bulletproof. It's built to some of the strictest international standards out there. I mean, it's licensed by the Petroleum and Explosive Safety Organization, complies with global NFPA 2 fire protection codes, and it even underwent a rigorous, independent third-party safety assessment by TÜV Süd in Germany. They literally left nothing to chance.
And that leads us perfectly into Section 5, Safety First.
When you're moving thousands of people with a newly implemented, highly flammable gas, the engineers really had to create an invisible, continuous shield around the entire train. Notice the safety layers we have here. If there is even a hint of a hydrogen leak, sensors instantly detect it across storage and dispensing. For fire or smoke, flame detectors and continuous ventilation are just always on guard. If anything unusual happens at all, the system literally cuts off its own hydrogen supply automatically. And for the driver, there's a dedicated safety mode and a real-time health screen, keeping the train's vitals front and center.
But you know, the safety shield actually extends way beyond just the onboard sensors. The entire operational framework is completely locked down. Refueling is monitored 24/7. A brand new maintenance facility was built in Delhi strictly for hydrogen operations. And honestly, my favorite detail? During this initial phase, highly trained, certified technical experts are actually riding along inside the train just to monitor all these critical operations in real time.
Ultimately, this single train is so much more than just a new piece of rolling stock. It is a massive proof of concept for the National Green Hydrogen Mission, essentially laying down the institutional blueprint for a net zero future. So, as we look at this incredible achievement, it leaves us with one lingering question. With this tech now validated in one of the largest rail networks on the planet, how quickly will this hydrogen wave reshape global transport, and what will it finally take for the rest of the world's railways to abandon diesel for good? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.